Hello again everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are taking a look today at JustFlight F28 Professional version 2 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024. So here we are once again, old school. We've got the music included as well, which you can change in the background as well, where you can actually go into the various different bits and change all of that. The registration's incorrect there. That's just something in MSFS 2024 in the customization tab in the free flight bit that I've not been able to do myself. But there are some big changes to version 2 from that version 1, which we've not flown in quite a few years, to be fair. We've of course got the cabin as well included in the backdrop of the aeroplane, and it makes it quite easy to set those custom views. We've got 8K textures here, which is sort of an extra bolt-on that you can have if you've got the performance, or I think it's 4K textures by default, but you can see here a lot of highly improved texture work from the JustFlight team. The flight deck in there looks pretty intimidating, doesn't it, to some, but actually you can work around it, get your head around it quite nicely. GSX integration and the new JustFlight EFB as well, which allows you to toggle all the options on as usual up here, including that GSX handling option. And that SimBrief integration that gives you the ability to load in your flight plans and check out your metas. It's super wet here in SeaTac. It's also got a UNS1, which you can toggle on or off based on your preference. You can have a GNS 430, I think, mounted down here as well if you wish. And Navigraph nav data is also something you can feed into this and update, which is mega cool. Within it, it allows you to load in your various sort of routes from your SimBrief flight plans, or indeed from your MSFS world map. The route that we're doing today is super quick, so actually it doesn't have much of an impact on us. Like so. And then you can see your loading and your fuel and things on there as well. So we've got lots of different options here to toggle between. And then within the options, we can select the departure runways that we request. So again, like before, we can go to number 2 there, select that, and then we want the Mon 2 departure, which is number 4. So nice and easy way of doing that if you're not sure how to add all of that in yourself. And then you can see here your flight plan is continuing to be built. And then the arrivals, again the same principles. So YVR 08 left, numero uno, Grizzle 7, via pay, and ILS Yankee for today, 08 left. Should be 1. No transitions. Now, because GSX works pretty well, you can kind of let it set and run by itself, depending on your custom airport profiles, of course, for that program, whilst you then focus on things like engine startup, and actually all that works really nicely too. The sounds inside MSFS 2024 with this are superb. And then as the aircraft's engines start, the aeroplane comes to life. It's quite a quirky little aeroplane, certainly very different in comparison to the things that we're used to, like the new A350 prime example. And being a much older aeroplane as well, you've got to fly it slightly differently. And from memory, when I flew this last, I wasn't particularly good at flying it, but I got some really nice enjoyment from it nevertheless. And there is a manual included in this, quick start guides, tutorial flights, all of that sort of stuff as well from before that you can make use of. And a very arbitrary sort of old school autopilot system. You'll notice down here there's a new kind of selected altitude system. It gets guarded as well. I'm going to quickly change this to the SeaTac 8 departure, just so we can go straight out to Painfield. You'll notice also down here as we taxi out, a couple of paper checklists actually in a really cool place. So you've got a few key bits of your flow able to be located and found actually in quite a nice location. It's not all the way down here. Certainly if you're using things like Tobii Eye Tracker and things, you can glance down and have a little look, which is quite cool. So just going back to this altitude pre-select controller with altitude hold and vertical speed controls as well here. It's a new additional cockpit feature. It allows automatic altitude arming and altitude alerting, and it's toggleable via an option in the EFB. And with that they've also got things like the altitude pre-select light on the pedestal and a few other bits tweaked and sorted out there too. They've enabled the working title GNS 430 version 2 framework in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, amongst a whole load of other stuff as well, including animated ashtrays, sun visors, and that texture replacement that we mentioned before as well. There's also an option to change between kilos and pounds in the displays. Similarly, there are a lot of new liveries as well, though we're in the US Air one today, which is one from before. There is a Colombian Air Force Mark 1000 F28 livery alongside a Desert Eagle 1000 variant as well, Air 21 Mark 4000 variant, and two other 4000 variants as well for the Argentine Air Force and Biman Bangladesh added to the package. So we're going to go ahead and sort out my departure checks, just make sure everything's set up accordingly. Really can't remember how to fly this, so no idea how this is going to go, but we shall find out momentarily. Now before we depart, it's worth pointing out that to make sure you've done all of your flight control checks, you need to ensure your gust lock is disengaged. So it'll be up here in the on position, which means that you don't have any ability to move your yoke around, and you will struggle to get off the ground effectively if you don't have that ready to go. So if you're new to the aircraft, or in fact maybe dusting off, knocking off the rust like I am today, or trying to at the very least, then remember that gust lock, folks. So we're going to get her in the air, climb up to 220 and then head up to Vancouver. Let's see how we get on. I can't really remember how to fly this thing. We shall find out.
Cabin crew, please take your seats for take.
Power set.
Cabin is secured.
We've got the cabin secure. There's always something.
Rotate.
Feels very nice. Just holding.
Positive climb. Gear up.
10 degrees. Maintaining that runway heading. And then into IMC. Gears up, no lights.
Flaps up.
Flaps up. The commands are really helpful working all this
Set
stuff
climb
out.
power.
And then as we climb away, we can set our speed modes and everything as required as well. So we're going to go left turn for now. Back on ourselves. And the autopilot's got the controls of which are down there, just as a refresher for some people. But it's a super small aeroplane this, so you can actually walk down the cabin and set your custom views very quickly. And the soundscape moving through the aircraft is very good. And yeah, B mode works pretty well here actually. So we're up in the sky. Lots of thunderous noise on the outside, which is always very nice to hear, and actually it looks really good, doesn't it? It looks fantastic. You can add on HF kind of cabling and things that move from the radio antennas towards the tail as well, should you wish. And for what it's worth, this update is coming very soon, over the next 7 days or so. We're looking at any time around the 10th to the 17th of March, approximately. Things may change. It is software development at the end of the day. The flight dynamics feel a lot better than previously as well. I think last time I flew this, I remember it being a little bit slippery and a little bit weird, and I struggled to get on with it personally. But certainly in the rotation that we've just done, it felt a lot more stable, although we had predominantly a headwind there. We're going to head into Vancouver, which is in minimal VFR conditions. We've got a 14 knot headwind, variable winds, and sort of a 2 to 6 knot crosswind as well, depending on those gusts. So we'll have a little look when we get a bit closer to see how we get on. We're expecting rain, high pressure, gusting 20 knots currently for the winds at 090, and we'll see how she handles as we attempt an ILS approach as well. And it is worth saying as well that because this now has this FMS system, albeit very basic, it's been kind of modded into the aeroplane, if you like, for want of a better phrase, modernised somewhat, just to help with different modes of use. Certainly in flight sim, it will now mean that those of you who want to take this on VAT sim that may not have otherwise have done so because of maybe a lack of confidence with hand flying and sort of VOR to VOR navigation and things, you have this now as an option, which is very, very nice because it allows you to add in your flight plan and take it for a spin on the network. We're really kind of pushing this. We're flying in horrendous icing conditions currently. They've improved the accuracy of the airspeed indicator, the bank angle artwork, elements of textures all around the aircraft, including the flight deck windows. Lots and lots of different changes here. If you disable the cabin in the EFB for performance or otherwise, what you'll then find as well is the flight deck door will be closed and locked and sealed. Something to bear in mind there as well. And they've also sorted out the correct equipment configuration based on the new liveries as well that are included. They've re-enabled the weather radar for those of you who might be flying on Xbox. Certainly MSFS 2024, when this does eventually release for you folks, then you'll be able to make the most of that. And they've also improved engine smoke effects, so density is now linked to engine LPRPM. And that's just a smidge of a few things that they've included. Updated GSX profiles as well is good. And instrument camera views. I'll show you a couple of click spots actually. There's a screw right here next to course. If I click that, it takes you straight to the FMS, which by the way, when you start up the aeroplane, might be switched off. Just press that power dim button on the bottom left and that'll turn it on for you. And as we said before, there's manuals included now. So there's an updated EFB manual to match the new EFB, updated ops manual, and the UNS-1 ops manual, so you can get used to using that little fairly modernised FMS for this aeroplane back in the day at least. And they've improved the TCAS artwork and functionality, reduced cockpit window reflectivity at night, and you can also have automatic cabin crew logic. So during the climb, if you forget to release the crew, you can actually hear them do it automatically, if it's enabled in the EFB of course. And then you'll hear random cabin calls during the flight as well, as the crew interact with each other, which is quite a nice little feature just for quality of life. So this F28 Professional version 2 update is going to release on JustFlight.com on the 13th of March 2025 as a free of charge update to all existing customers. It will be then available shortly after that via other third-party retailers as well, including Contrail, and also including the in-game marketplace shortly after. Now the update again is going to be a free of charge update to all owners of the F28 already, so if you've got this in 2020 You'll get the update for 2020, but you'll also get the update for 2024, which is epic. I found the new autopilot control panel actually really quite easy to use. Vertical speed mode there, you can turn that on and you can arm your pre-selected altitude. We're in the descent now, by the way, folks, just sort of if you're catching up. And I'm hoping desperately that I've got everything set up correctly, but we shall find out shortly. We're still using the GPS modes to trigger the required courses for our navigation, and then we'll shortly start switching across into nav to fly that downwind leg, and then vectors to the ILS 08 left for Vancouver. 5 statute miles of visibility, so pretty poor weather at the moment as it stands. It's certainly more difficult trying to kind of get your head around the quirks of an aeroplane like this, knowing that you don't have a big nice nav display there showing you your waypoints and your path and all the rest of it. So this does take you out of your comfort zone. What they've been able to do with this version 2 has been very, very good so far, and I'm looking forward to trying to get it on the ground actually, to see how it handles. We should be expecting a left turn. There's the switch on the heading display. Nice detection. We've pretty much left the de-icer systems on the entire time just because of the weather being particularly awful at the moment. 3009er for the local air pressure. So through the descent, we've selected altitudes using this altitude panel. I found the vertical speed mode very good to use actually. It's worth noting that for pre-select it's on automatic, but you need to make sure it goes on like so. And if you want to go altitude hold for whatever reason, then you can press that button there as well. Generally quite impressed with everything that they've been able to include into version 2.0, and the autopilot system with that FMS is really good. Just finishing off the latter part of the descent now in speed mode for 200 knots, and we're going to do a little bit of work to get ourselves on the glide slope for 08 left. One to go. Going to switch that to nav. And we're going to turn on to right base. Northbound. Lots and lots of weather on the radar there. Altitude pre-select is showing amber, which is good. Really desperately trying to remember how to do all of this.
Flaps 11.
That's good, they're armed. One thing you have to be really careful of here as well is runaway trim. Zero 03, 073. 053 will do. We'll see how we get on. So holding 3000, flaps 11, speeds between 180 and 160, just to give myself some time. We should be intercepting this momentarily. He says, he hopes.
Course bar active.
There we go. I think I remember doing this one last time, and it was 08 left as well actually, and I had difficulty getting the aeroplane to establish from memory, and it's nice to see that's been sorted out. Let's arm the glide slope. A quick check of the old checklist here. Fasten seatbelts, that's already on. Landing lights, switches, altimeters, windshield heat, and anti-ice, Gen 3 switch, landing gear, warning switch, norm, announce. That's already done. Final, no smoking switch, that's already done. Skid control, brake pressures, lift dampers armed and ready. We've already done that. So we've got, and we've already got the crew in the seats for landing. Jolly good. Glide slope's green. There's a little bit of a crosswind there, as you can see. Nose has gone down. 8 miles. Gear down. Bring that speed off now as well. From the outside then. It does take a little while for that gear to come out. It's worth remembering. There's a little bit of smoke coming out from behind the jet. Really cool. Missed approach is going to be 3,500. Just going to leave that set at 3.5. Need to make sure I've reset the vertical
Flaps
speed.
25.
Sets coming down to final approach speeds. We've got VREF of 129 for flap 25. It's about there. Watching the speed. This is really low vis. All the links as always will be down in the description below, folks, as well. Hit like, hit subscribe, share your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm pretty sure I forgot to say that at the start. Let me know what you think. I'm really interested, certainly if you've flown the F28 in MSFS 2020 with version 1. I'm very interested to hear what you think of what you've seen in this short preview video as well. Obviously haven't touched on all of the features, but I've just brushed across a few in this short flight from SeaTac to Vancouver. I hope you found it useful. 1,500 feet. Minimums are 113 on the radar. There's the water below and the pier. This is very nicely refined now. And check. Couple of tips for you folks as well. There is no auto throttle if you're not familiar with this. Once you've leveled off in cruise, you want to bring your HP RPM back to about 89 to 90%, and from there, as you fly along, depending on how long your route is, you should only be able to, we should only need to make very small changes of plus or minus 1% to maintain your cruise speed. And you can also use the little yellow bug there on your airspeed indicator to try and lock in the right speeds. And then you monitor the fast and slow indicator on the primary flight display or on the ADI to make those small corrections to the thrust. And there is 2 electric pumps down here. You might need to top up the hydraulic systems when you're starting cold and dark on the ground. And if you're using GSX, it might tell you to set the parking brake before you request pushback, and that's a good way of finding that out. Autopilot off.
Glide slow.
Too low, flaps. Too low,
100
flaps.
feet to minimum.
Too low, flaps. Too low, flaps.
Continue.
Too low, flaps. Too low,
We're using
flaps.
flaps 25, 28 rather.
50, 40, 30,
It's got a very nice ground
90.
effect
10,
and very easy to float, as you can see, with the energy of the aircraft. And down. Lift spoilers are out, you can see that there. Then gently on the brakes. And then the aircraft kind of naturally progresses into ground steering again at those slower speeds. From the outside then, we can start to get rid of all the flaps and things. Disarm the lift dumper. And then work to progress off the runway. And we've worked through all of our after landing checks. Get ourselves to stand, park up, shut down. There's the wiper animation, just really quickly for you folks, if you're interested in that. So there we go. I'm going to finish all those checks as described. Hope you found the video enjoyable. Stay tuned for lots of other content coming in soon in the near future as well, including that new Nuke scenery, and monitor that JustFlight website for the release of this new version 2 for both MSFS 2020 and MSFS 2024. But in the meantime, as always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Take care.